We're joined by a great friend of the ACLJ, does so much great work for our country and all Americans, especially her district, New York 24, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, let me go right to you on the China. We've seen these briefings that members of Congress have received, and members have come right out after not just the balloon incident, but these other three incidents. They've come out and said everything that was said, and whether this was a classified briefing or something that was behind the scenes, that basically all of it should be released and allowed for all American people to see. Supposedly, the president's going to address the nation maybe as early as tonight, after a week after all this stuff. Your reaction initially just to this lack of transparency from the administration. I mean, first they told us the radar didn't pick it up. Then we find out, Daily Mail's got a full tracking of the balloon from the moment it took off in China and how it traversed the Pacific Ocean and into our territory.
Well, this is the administration, exactly what they do. I think they're covering for the mistakes they made and the inconsistencies in this balloon gate scandal, whether it's the first to the fourth balloon, all these discrepancies about how we're using very expensive F-22 Raptors with very expensive weaponry to shoot down a balloon that we probably could have shot with a 50 cal. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that they're trying to couch it in a classified setting when actually most of the documentation and evidence we have is already public. People can access it. It reminds me a lot of this whole Iran nuclear deal negotiation. I hate to but we keep meeting in classified settings, and the Biden administration last year never gave us any information. And I was like, why is this a classified setting when, you're just basically telling us what we can read in Al Jazeera and other news outlets? So I think they're trying to come up with a cogent, saleable spin on this that they can address to the American people. But it's long past due for Joe Biden to put this out. And I think the more they wait and the more they spin this, the more the people have less confidence in what they're actually doing. And the more our enemies see this as a complete lack of competence on the part of the administration, which, we don't need to see demonstrated over and over, whether it's Afghanistan, what's happening in Taiwan, the fumbles with China before and now including this balloon gate scandal.
Congressman, you mentioned like the overclassification, and we've heard that from intel officials, former secretaries of state, former director of the CIA. Also, with the same line, is that they use classification to cover up their mistakes for the American people. And ultimately here it was I think it's a nonprofit group that has satellites up, and anybody can access those satellites, and they have the imagery of a Chinese balloon manufacturing facility where they manufacture these large-scale, huge balloons. And so they even that was public. I mean, none of that was secret. So this idea, again, I just want you to let people know that a lot of this classification is done so that we don't understand, or they think we won't figure out the mistakes they're making, even though a lot of those mistakes, as you say, they're in plain sight.
Yeah, I think the people see it, and people are concerned because a lot of people don't understand legally the difference between levels of classification for documents. So if someone hears the term classified, they've watched, these cop shows and go, oh, it's classified. We can't, we shouldn't have this out, but we've got access to it, and when they can't talk about it. And I think that what people need to understand is there's all kinds of bureaucrats, as you say, overclassifying. It's what they used as a justification to raid President Trump, and then they had to make it look good, so now they're going after Joe Biden. They went after Mike Pence. They're going after anyone, and using this specter of, oh my God, they're classified documents in somebody's closet or something. This is still not comparable to Sandy Berger stuffing documents out of the National Archives into his socks on his way out the door. So, I mean, the problem is they're able to nuance this with people who don't really understand the difference and manipulate the public. And I think this is all part of the problem when you have a public that doesn't understand what our government's about and that it's their obligation to be self-governing, to figure out what the truth is. And it's good that we have more media outlets talking about it, like your outlet, so that we can get down to the facts about this thing. But that's what concerns me the most, is how many Americans don't even understand the difference and fall prey to some of the less than ethical media outlets just trying to use this information to manipulate and really just wear a team jersey on one side or the other, particularly the Democratic side.
You serve on the House Science, Space, and Technologies committees, and that work that committee does work on the China issue. I want to ask you the same question that I asked Congresswoman today, former Secretary of State Pompeo, Senator Blackburn just moments ago, and that is for our audience to understand how big of a threat China is to the United States.
I don't think you can understate it or overstate it. I think China is our biggest adversary on so many levels, whether it's beefing up their military, their ability to do surveillance. They've already been spying on us. You know, back when I first wrote my first article on China in 2016 about the almost $400 billion in intellectual property theft by the Chinese Communist Party of American companies, our innovation and our technologies, largely through these Confucius Institutes, but other ways of infiltrating our business community at home and in China. It's now over $600 billion, and they continue to use TikTok, buying up farmland, now surveillance balloons. I mean, they're brazen in what they're doing, and we have so many Americans and companies that don't realize how dangerous this threat is. And I'm hoping that on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, we can really expose this, but also to continue to expose it because our innovation, our technology, our ability to protect our homeland are under siege, and they have been for years. This is not new. And getting Americans to bring our supply chains back here, getting reasonable, responsible energy. You know, we have a huge reliance on China for this green energy agenda with solar panels, the batteries, and all this that we're relying on China for. Most of our pharmaceuticals, in terms of R&D, is now being relied on in China. We can do that, and we do that so much better in this country. We just need to have honest reporting and honest assessment of this. I'm going to plan on doing some committee meetings on energy, on supply chains, and things that we need to focus on, even on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, so we know that China doesn't continue to get an edge on our country in terms of basically everything. When you talk about military superiority, technology with hypersonics, satellites, aggressive satellites, now this balloon and surveillance technology, intellectual property on so many levels, they're way ahead of us. And just look at the way our education system is showing that they're producing students that are much more able to handle the technological challenges of the future, while our students tend to be focused on woke issues and things that aren't helping us advance against a really fast-moving target in China.
You know, Congresswoman Tenney, you, again, stand for all of us and are working so hard in Washington, D.C. to bring clarity to this, to bring the info to the American people, and to fight back and do something about it. We appreciate you so much joining us on the broadcast today.